Welcome to another episode of the Peak Potential Success Show. My name is Fong. I'm an entrepreneur, business strategist, real estate investor, speaker, and also a best-selling author. And every single day, I help others unlock the potentials and guide them to succeed. Today, I have another amazing guest. This person is somebody I met in the States at a conference, and after that, we built a great relationship. In fact, I've had the privilege of following him around in, I believe it was Vegas, looking at different properties and looking at different places, and it was a lot of fun. Really gave me a big perspective of different markets from Vegas and Edmonton. It was actually a lot of fun. Plus, I got to spend some time with him watching some Stanley Cup playoffs, which was absolutely amazing. So this guy is a lot of fun to talk to. Very, very smart, very, very expert in real estate and speaking. He is a business breakthrough and marketing strategist. He's a speaker. He's a real estate investing expert. So please welcome Mr. Paul Xavier.
Thank you, Fong. How are you doing, sir?
Hey, I'm doing awesome. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks. Just out here enjoying the weather in Hawaii. I know yours is probably a little different during the winter time. So
actually, I think our last bit of snow just melted. So we've seen snow throughout the entire year except for maybe July. But in other words, it's been good.
Nice. Yeah, there's an interesting fact for you. Do you know the Big Island of Hawaii actually gets snow?
Really?
Because of its altitude. Yeah, so they actually have a ski thing, a ski club and all that. Yeah, so that's kind of funny. A lot of people don't realize that.
There's enough snow for people to actually ski?
Yeah, I mean, a couple times a year maybe. And again, it's because of its altitude. It's so, I don't know how high that mountain is over there on the Big Island, but it's obviously high enough when we get storms. It's actually cold enough up there where they get snow. But you can actually Google. It's kind of interesting. They got a ski club and all this stuff, and there's no resort. I think they like just hump it up there with their skis on their shoulder type of thing.
must not be a very long, like that probably doesn't have a business for very long though, eh? 2 days out of
No, yeah, it's not. It's but it'll stay for a month depending on how much snow they get.
Really?
It's that high. I mean, it gets cold up there. Like, yeah. So it's pretty cool. Anyway, cool. You mentioned snow, so it always makes me think of that when I think of the Big Island and people don't realize there's actually snow there.
Very, very cool. For people who don't know who you are, can you give us a back history of what you've done and how did you become the expert in real estate and also branding that you are today?
Sure. So I'm originally from Rhode Island, so back east, and that's where the hockey comes from. You talked about hockey earlier. So obviously in Hawaii, there's not a whole lot of hockey going on, though we do play some. We have one ice rink and we do play some roller hockey out here. But as I'm getting older, I find it harder to do on a weekly basis. So we'll see how long that lasts, but I still enjoy it. So growing up in Rhode Island, joined the military. When I joined, it was kind of cool. Like their advertising was see the world and get paid for it. And I was sold, right? Come from a small town of Rhode Island. I did, and I've seen the world. I've been to almost every coastal country in South America, most of the Asian countries. So I did a lot of traveling, and I think I have a lot of that worldly experience from doing that. So that was really cool. And I enjoyed the military. The time I was in, I did 20 years, retired. But about 3 years before I retired, so 1999, probably like a lot of people, I seen an infomercial on TV to go to this free event. So I always joke that it was free to get in and $2,000 to get out. So that was my first real investment, probably into myself. From an education standpoint. I've taken some college classes and stuff when I was in the military, but that was probably the first investment in me that I made. So we went to there's a 3-day event. We went to that class, and back then it was Russ Whitney. I don't know if you know that name or not, but he was out of Florida and was one of the gurus at the time in real estate. So we went to the event. From the free event to the 3-day event, back then, I'm going to date myself now, I had, books and cassettes. So by the time I went to the 3-day event, my cassettes were squealing. My books had corners tabbed, highlighted. And we actually had 3 properties in escrow. Wow. So just from the books and tapes, I hadn't even gone to the training yet. So at the training, I found it amazing that I would say 60-70% of the people there didn't even open their books and tapes yet. They were waiting for the class.
Wow.
And meanwhile, I had 3 properties in escrow. And what'd you do? I said, I listened to the books and tapes. I mean, that was it. I didn't know what I was doing. Right? I even ran into an incident where a realtor a real estate agent told me that I couldn't do something. He said it was illegal. So I literally, I said, I'll be right back. I went out to my car. I got one of my books. I brought it back into her and I showed her right here. I said, this guy's doing it. Because, and I think it was one of the things later in life I heard is like, just be dumb enough to do what I'm telling you to do. And that came from one of my mentors, like, listen to people that have been there, not people that haven't been there and don't know what they're doing. So she's a real estate agent, not a bad person at all, but her default answer was it's illegal. Mm-hmm. And so I showed her that. She took it to her broker. Her broker said I could do it. So now she's embarrassed and didn't even want to work with me anymore. Right. So that was kind of a funny story and it really kept me going because all along this path of doing real estate investing, especially some creative deals, there was a lot of people said, you can't do it. You can't do it. You can't do it. Or you got lucky. You got lucky. I got a lot of that from friends of you got lucky. One of these days, So of course, not every deal goes 100% according to plan. Well, I shouldn't say it. Most deals don't go 100% according to plan.
What deals are you doing?
Yeah. But you're in real estate, you know what I mean, right? But I never let it discourage me. And my wife, she was my biggest cheerleader and we just kept plugging along. And people told me to join a real estate club. So I looked in Hawaii. We didn't have a real estate club. So we fixed that. By the time I retired from the military, I started a real estate club. So I've been fortunate enough to retire. I retired in 2002. And I've been doing real estate and now business. I owned a couple of businesses. So I got into coaching real estate. I got into coaching and marketing for businesses. And I run the real estate club in Hawaii. So just a whole bunch of little stuff that I enjoy doing. I really enjoy helping people and seeing their successes. And some of my favorite memories are the successes of some of the people that I've worked with more than some of my own deals. So that's kind of my background. And I think the military gave me that headstrong attitude about we just got to get it done type of thing. So I think that attributed to a lot of my success. And again, one of the best tips from one of my mentors is just be dumb enough to do what I'm telling you to do. So when you pay someone a lot of money to learn and they tell you to do something, then you should do it, obviously, right? I mean, not question whether or not it's real. And too many other people outside of the people that are helping you that don't have success are getting in people's heads. Mm-hmm. And, mostly family and friends that know them for who they are. Like no one knew me as a real estate investor. Mm-hmm. Now there's nobody in my sphere of influence that doesn't know me as a real estate investor. You know what I mean? So like even my family, it's not that they're investing and doing stuff with me, but they know what I do. It's whereas before I was this crazy guy, so now they're calling me for advice when they want to sell or buy a house. So
they all of a sudden they start all coming to you.
Yeah, that's how it works. So, but it's all good. I mean, and I enjoy it. Like I said, I really enjoy it. So even like sitting here with you, it allows me to have that time freedom to, do what I want to do when I want to do it type of thing. And I'm no gazillionaire by any sense of the word, but I have income coming in that I don't have to work for. And, the things that I enjoy doing, I do. The things that I don't enjoy doing, I don't do. So that's kind of cool about where I'm at today.
Now, going back to that first time you bought that tape and you finished listening to all those tapes and you're very excited and you're like, I'm going to go out there and do all this stuff. You're excited telling everybody in your sphere of influence, your family, friends, and then all of a sudden, what did they say to you?
Well, probably the only person I really listened to was my mom more than what everyone else said. And I think it was just, and it was just her words of caution more than it was, don't do it. So, my mom raised 6 kids by herself. So statistically, I should probably be in jail, but she wouldn't have any of that. Right. So that was her big advice about just word of caution. And she was never around money. So like, I couldn't even talk to her about money. Like when I told her like I had 2 car payments and a mortgage payment, like my car payments was more than her mortgage. So when we talked about, she didn't want to talk about it. Like she was happy. I wrote a book. She got, I sent her a book and she's in the book. And so she's very excited and happy and proud of me. But at the same time, she was, I think, always nervous for me, but would never hold me back. And for the most of the other people, I just kept saying the same thing. It's like, well, this guy says I can, he's done it. You haven't. So I'm going to listen to the guy that has. I mean, that was probably our biggest mindset, especially. And I think the real big turning point for that, Fong, was that real estate agent that told me I couldn't do it and it was illegal. Mm-hmm. And when I showed her in the book and found out that I could do it, and her boss said I could do it. And then other things where the books and tapes taught me how to put my finances together, something I've never done, right? Military guy, just paycheck to paycheck, whatever. I didn't know finance stuff. So like how to put it together, how to put it in a binder, and when you go get your loan and how to speak. And I did that, and literally like my credit report, everything was in there that they told me to do, which come to find out was overkill. But anyway, I go to the bank, I make an appointment, I go to the bank, I talk to the lender, I show him that. He flips through it. He goes to give it back to me. I said, "That's your copy. You can keep it for my file." And he literally just said, "Well, it looks like you know what you're doing. How much did you need your pre-qualification letter for?"
Uh,
So like at that point, I was like sold on this course. Like everything this guy's telling me to do, people are amazed by it. Someone's telling me it's illegal and it's not. I can do it. I go into a lender and he's like, "How much do you need? Looks like you got your stuff together." I mean, he didn't, he just went by the credit report and everything I had in my file. And that's what he literally told me. And I was like, this stuff is like gold, so there was basically no stopping me back then because everything that they were telling me to do was working. I mean, I wasn't doing crazy stuff. I was listening to a book, listening to a cassette, following it in the book, and then I would go do it.
What was the very first deal you did?
The first deal, holy cow. So I believe it was a condo on what we call our Waianae Coast, our west side of the island. It was leasehold, so you didn't own the land. So because you didn't own the land, you had to rent the land. So there was a lease payment on the land when you own the condo. So that turned a lot of people off. Well, I looked at the numbers. I'm not going to remember the numbers exactly. This was back in 1999, 2000s. So the lease rent was probably like $60 a month.
Mm.
The condo fees were like 100. For some reason, I'm thinking $63. So 163, or the lease rent was 63, and the condo fees were under 200. So we're talking maybe 250, 260 in lease rent and condo fees. I actually bought that condo because you couldn't get a loan for it because you didn't own the land. The lease wasn't long enough. There was only like, I don't know, 20 years left, which means you can only get a 15-year loan or 7. You had to have 5 years left on the lease before the loan expired. So there might have been like 18. So I couldn't get a loan. So I literally got a cash advance on a credit card, and I paid $13,520 for that condo. And another one I paid 14 and change. I bought 2 in the same complex. So I paid that. I used a credit card to fix it up. Okay, so I couldn't finance it because of its condition, because I refinanced and paid my credit card off. So I borrowed like 15 grand cash advance, and then used another credit card to fix it up a little bit. I refinanced it for like 24 grand. Paid off those cards. My mortgage payment was, I don't know, $200, if that. So I'm all in my monthly, and with being a condo, I didn't have to worry about capital expenses really. Like the condo took care of everything. I just had to worry about inside. And I probably cash flowed. I think I rented that for $700-800, so it was a good $200 or $300 cash flow. And by the time it was all said and done, none of my own money because I did a cash out refi once I fixed it up. Awesome. So I did 2 of those. I don't know if they were together or separate, but in that same complex. And same thing. By the time I got to 5, I bought a couple more condos in other places. By the time I got to like 5, I asked the lender, as I goes, well, how does this work? Like, how many can I buy? Like, because I'm just going, right? I mean, I think I did 8 deals in my first year.
Wow.
And they were cash flow deals like that, buy and holds. And so I was like, how many can I buy? How does this work? And she says, well, actually, when you came in, you qualified for this amount. Now you own 5 properties. It was about time I asked her. It wasn't through the whole year. She says, because you're actually positive cash flow on them, you can actually borrow more today than you did when you came to me the first time. I was like, I love this business. This is going to be great. Right? But even then, when you're putting money down and stuff like that, you you're eventually going to run out of funds if you're using your own cash and doing stuff like that. So then I started learning more and hey, what's just creative financing stuff, right? So then I did wholesaling, I did lease options, I was doing subject to, we're working a lot of foreclosures in Hawaii. So as time went on, there's just more and more training and investing in myself. I think the most I spent for education was probably 10 grand
Oh.
to spend one day with somebody. And I had to fly to Florida to do it.
And I'm sure it was all worth it because you made what, 10 times more?
Yeah, and there's money I spent on training just to realize that I didn't want to do that, right? but how much time would I have spent figuring that out if I just didn't go get that training?
Right.
You know what I mean? So I spent a day or a weekend going to a class or a seminar or whatever to find out. I was like, well, that's not what I thought it was. But I didn't look at that as money down the drain. I still look at that as an experience and training that I was able to go and figure out, instead of spending 6 months and my time and energy trying to figure out I didn't want to do it, I found that out in a weekend.
Yeah.
You know, so there's a lot of stuff like that throughout. And even today, I still spending money on training and courses and webinars, and mostly webinars now, obviously, everything's online. But yeah, always trying to learn, always trying to meet new people like we got to meet, and cheering for the Bruins.
I only cheer for the Bruins when the Oilers are out. So
yeah, well, I still the backdrop I have is a picture, but I think on the top shelf, this shelf up here, I think that's all my Bruin stuff that you sent me is on this shelf. I think the hat, the goalie stick, something else I think's up there too. Yeah, so that's kind of funny. I have all that stuff that you sent me.
Awesome.
That's cool. It's hard to get that stuff out here in Hawaii, man.
I figured. You mentioned creative financing before. What would you say is one of the most creative deals that you put together?
Most creative. Man, I mean, there was a lot of owner financing stuff. I think probably the most creative wasn't actually the financing side of it. It was the negotiation side. Because creative financing, I mean, there's not a lot. It's somebody's money. Money's happening somewhere. You're negotiating something, whether it's the seller's money, owner financing, you're bringing in someone else's money, partnership. So a lot of things I'm doing now is probably finding and doing the deals, the bigger deals, and using other people's money. And I keep a percentage of the deal and not have any skin in the game. So bought a 30-something unit apartment complex. I own 20%, raised the money from the other 80%. And I had no money in that deal. And I was owner of a 33 unit apartment complex, 20% owner, and I managed it.
Nice.
So stuff like that, leveraging myself into that. But I think some of the cool stuff we've done is probably on the negotiation side with banks, and because I'm a pretty big risk taker. So if I've been through the property, then I already know what it's kind of going to take. So we were negotiating for an apartment in Dayton, Ohio, as a matter of fact. And they originally had like 240,000, and we ended up buying that place for like 120. And it was a back and forth thing where they said, well, we'll give it to you for, and we offered more than the 120. That's why I say it was kind of cool, because we made an offer and they said, well, if you want it for that price, you have to do this. So when they asked for something, we said, well, if you want us to do that, you have to lower the price. So then they asked for something else, and if you want that, then you got to do this. I said, well, if you want that, you got to lower the price again. And we bought it for like 120 something, and we closed in like it was still like 3 weeks, right? It seemed, you think it would go quick with that kind of new, but the bank took so long to respond. It got to the point where like, we'll close by the end of the month or end of the quarter, whatever it was, if you give it to us for this price. So by the time the contract accepted, we closed in like 3 days. But it was like 3 weeks. We've already been in the property. We've had a contractor in the property. We already knew everything we were getting because they were taking so long to negotiate, to respond. So that was one of my first big deals on the mainland. And that was unique to me because I had never done what they called a roundtable closing or immediate closing. And so in Hawaii, if I sign today, I don't get the keys, let's say Monday, I won't get the keys till Wednesday or Thursday. It won't record till Wednesday or Thursday. We got to wait 2 or 3 days. Like when I signed this, the first time I was actually there, we signed, did everything. Like we're sitting at the table, it's like, here's your deed. Here's your real estate agent's commissions check. And like, Like, what the heck is this? Like everything was done. Got the keys like that day. That was my first experience investing on the mainland to see that round table closing where like you signed, it's done, it's closed. We're going to record it today. Everything in Hawaii, it doesn't happen that way. It's 2 or 3 days later.
Well,
You can do it rush, but they make you pay for it.
Because I think our possessions are usually 30 days later.
Yeah, once you sign and close documents in Ohio, Indiana, where I do a lot of investing, it's that day. Like literally in Ohio, I was like went to the title company for closing, escrow and title, and like there's like 6 people at the table. I'm like, who are all these people at my closing? I'm thinking I'm signing, right? And someone else. I was there. My realtor was there. The bank's representative was there. The bank's realtor was there, and the escrow agent was there. And everything got signed, and they literally shuffled the checks and the deeds and everything around the table once everyone signed and notarized everything.
They
together.
need a lazy Susan on there so they can just spin it.
Spin the table, yeah.
Sign here.
Yeah. So that was a new experience for me, right? I just assumed everyone closed on real estate the same way, right? So that was kind of neat experience. But now, like I've closed on I owned a property in Florida for, I don't know, 7 years and never saw it. Mm-hmm. I bought it, rented it, market went up. Someone made me an offer, sold it, same thing. So because real estate's my business, I always joke, like even my house is for sale. If someone offers me enough money, my own residence, right? So, because it's just a commodity to me. Mm-hmm. So I've sold a lot of properties that never listed and never put it on the market. People just wrote me offers.
Well, and that's probably the right way to go, to treat all the properties as commodity, because money talks.
Yeah, because it's my business. Like I know a lot of people and a lot of my students, a lot of them are like, look, I want to own like 3 or 4 or 5 properties. And like, that's I just want to own them, pay them off. By the time I retire, that's my retirement. I can leave it to my kids. And they have no interest in doing real estate as a business. Mm-hmm. Like, so I just make sure that, people that do that, they still understand it's a business. So they get the tax benefits of owning the real estate and those types of things. But it's not like where their income comes from. Like that really is like a retirement plan, more like this is my livelihood, my real estate, right? So it's not something I'm planning to retire on when I'm 80 years old. It is, but that's not all it is. Like it's my livelihood on a daily basis. Yeah. Which is like everything you're doing, that's our livelihood. It's not just for fun or to own a couple properties.
No, it's not a pastime, and you can't treat it like a hobby either, because once you do that, then you start losing track of what you need to do and how to adjust and change course and whatnot. So yeah, being in the military, discipline is a big thing, and you also traveled around the world. How often during your pursuit in business and also in real estate did you go back to your military training and that discipline and the ability to access that, being around the world and talking to so many different types of people?
Well, Fong, to be honest, I think after 20 years, it's not something that I consciously do. Mm-hmm. Like it's just who I am. So I don't know if I could pick a point where it's like, oh, because of this, I did that because of my military career. Like,
but would you say that because of that career, it gave you an advantage of other people who never had that experience?
I think the military does that for a lot of people in a lot of ways. Sure. I mean, like I used to say, like, my mom raised me to be a good man, obviously, but I think the military really made me who I am today. Mm-hmm. So like even being younger and having mentors in the military, you have senior guys that take care of you. And so I've always been fortunate to have good guys looking after me and helping me. And same thing, I joined when I was 18. I was still wet behind the ears, so, it was those guys in the military that fed knowledge to me and helped me and guided me, not just military, but in life in general, right? So I think, like even today, I'm sure a lot of things I do are because of that, but not in a sense where I relate it to that because it's just who I am after 20 years of doing something. And I actually had to get out because it was changing too much. Like it was like, you can't yell at somebody or so, it's just kind of getting crazy. It's like, fortunately or unfortunately, the military is a dictatorship. Mm-hmm. And it was kind of getting away from that. But, if something goes down, you can't negotiate with a subordinate. Like you just tell them, go do A. Why do I have to do it? Like, because I said so. That's the way it works here, you know. So they were getting away from that, which makes everybody's job harder and more difficult to do. Like there's a reason there's a ranking in the military, and there's people that are senior and junior, and you know, and go do. And so it was really getting kind of strange. They were going through a transition of sorts, you know. So I think I got out at the right time. I think I was in at the right time. Very fortunate to do all that time and never really be in the heat of any battle, so to speak. You know, so did a lot of time overseas, did some time in the Gulf, but same thing when I was there, we were just, you know, watching other people watching us, and fortunately no one like shot at us or anything like that. And
That's good.
so yeah, so I think I can't pinpoint a specific area, but I think almost everything I do probably in my life probably relates to what I've learned and how I was raised in the military to go through that.
Now, you're also a very good business person, and also a person who takes marketing to the next level. What would you say that during this period of time where everything's locked down and people are changing the way they do things, what's the main thing that you've changed with regards to your marketing?
So, so that's something actually, as you know, is something I just started really getting into, probably because of COVID and the things and the way things were changing. But one of the biggest things I've learned and I'm starting to teach is, you know, a lot of people talk about a USP, unique selling proposition, right? So, and one of the things I learned is what's called a market dominating position. So, which is kind of different than it. Like if I'm the only real estate association in Hawaii, right? And there's probably some smaller groups, but I'm the only big one real, you know, that has meetings regularly. There's smaller groups that splinter off, but they're not big associations like mine. So that makes me unique, but it doesn't make me, because as soon as someone starts one, I'm no longer unique either.
Yep.
Like the market dominating position, like the best one I can think of that everyone probably knows. Actually, I guess I don't know if you have any. Do you guys have Domino's Pizza in Canada?
Yep.
Yeah. So
I think so. Yeah.
do you? And you might be too young to remember that, but they used to do your pizza in 30 minutes or it's free.
Yeah.
Right. So that's a market dominating position. Nobody else was doing that. So for my market dominating position for my marketing and for my business coaching is I can find any small business $30,000 to $50,000 in 45 minutes or less without you guys spending any more money on marketing or advertising.
Oh.
So yeah, market dominating. Right? Not too many business coaches do that. They just talk to you in platitudes about how I can help you and how I can do this. And so now that's a market dominating position. There's nobody else in Hawaii or that has that kind of marketing. So I've been working on those types of things and strategizing those types of things. And then that becomes the culture of your business. So all your employees talk about that way, so you use that market dominating position. Becomes part of your elevator speech. So you stand out from everyone else. And then in your marketing, that message can be in there, but obviously your headline needs to be disruptive, right? So that's a lot of things where I see ads and it's kind of funny. Like I'm always looking at real estate ads, and someone had a real estate ad about something to do with we buy houses, don't wait on a real estate agent. And then that was their headline. And then in their sub headline, it said something about talking to their real estate agent. I was like, what? Like that doesn't even make sense, you know? So, but those are opportunities for me to coach too, right? So I'll contact them, say, hey, I was looking at your ad, it needs some work, give me a call.
I think
Right.
one of the most creative ones I've seen was I think it was for rental or either to sell, but it says the headline was, we have your goldfish for ransom or something.
Yeah, see, that's disruptive. Like, what is that? Right? It's kind of that's the disruptive part where it gets your attention and stuff like that, right? Then you got to engage them with something. So if they didn't say something neat after that, you'd kind of lose them. Right. So then we got to educate them. We got to, you know, a lot of times you see the free offer stuff. We got to give them a video and educate them on what they're looking for. A lot of people are misusing their websites today because they're not capturing leads. Yep. See, a lot of websites, there's so much stuff on them. And then it's like, call me. Well, I don't want to call you. I'm looking for information. You know, so that's why I think I know your website, you do your podcast, there's a lot, you have a lot to offer in training and educating people so they can learn about you, because most people that go to the websites aren't today buyers.
Yeah.
They're researchers and they want to buy in the future. So if we're not capturing their information and dripping to them and getting in front of them on a regular basis, when they're ready to buy, they're not going to think of us.
Exactly.
So I think that's really important with marketing. And I think, call us for an appointment is like the kiss of death. Like, you want me to call you, it's because you want to sell me something.
Yeah.
Right. So there needs to be something else to build that trust first before you say, hey, give me a call and let's talk. Because that, to anyone, that relates to give me a call so I can sell you something. I'm not saying you shouldn't have a website, but I think squeeze pages are a really important way to get names and numbers and traffic and engage your clients and customers.
No, very, very well said. For somebody like yourself who's so successful in business and also real estate, what still motivates you? How do you wake up in the morning? How do you get yourself going and ready to start the day?
Yeah, so it's funny you asked that, because over the last couple of years, like with the real estate club, it's, especially with COVID, because we're not meeting people as much, it's starting to become a job, right? Because like networking and going to events and helping people and talking to people and presenting from the stage, that's fun. That's not work to me. I'm helping people. I can get out there. The people are coming. We're networking. People are meeting people. You're introducing to people. You're watching people do deals. And now I'm sitting in front of a computer like I am with you in my house, and not networking and not going to events and not meeting people. So every month when I do meetings, I do a meeting every week with them. Some are just ask the expert and some are where I do presentations. It's me talking to a screen. It's not fun anymore. Mm-hmm. So that's actually been a challenge. But I think, like anyone, as you get older and you're comfortable and things are happening, and like you're doing already at a much younger age than me, is you're helping other people. Like you're giving back. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people, well, then why do you charge for it? It's like, well, because if I did it for free, nobody would do it. I don't care what you say. Like, they devalue it 100%. And I've done this with pricing for events, and I've done free events, and 200 people sign up and 75 show up. Right. So, but if I charge 500 event for the same thing, 100 people might sign up, but 98 are going to be there. You know what I mean? Because they put a value on it. So it's really difficult. Like, my worst students and the most frustrating stuff is the people that I've helped for free. Right. It really is. It's just the way it is. And some people that have paid me the most are the happiest that they could be. And I might teach them the same stuff. But the guys that got it for free aren't doing it. And I really do, for my real estate coaching, I have an application process. And I know a lot of people think, well, that's just, you're trying to see how much money they got. It's like, well, yeah, it is. Because if they want me to coach them and I want 25 grand and they have 30, I'm not taking their last 25 grand to teach them how to invest in real estate. So when they're done with me, they have no money and no real estate. Like that makes no sense to me. So, and I've always, tried to help people, and sometimes I'll do it for less, or we'll negotiate something with a deal or something like that. So I can help them, but I don't help for free. And I don't take students that I don't think can afford it, that will be successful. Now, I think money's tight or something like that, but I can look at them and their history and what they've accomplished, and they're just going through a rough time. Then I might take them as a student. But I really try and feel that out. And again, I always have a one-on-one meeting with them, because they might not like me and I might not like them. And that's another nice thing about being where I'm at, is I can choose who I work with. Right. And regardless of how much money they have and how much help they want, if we sit down and you just don't feel it, you know what I mean? Like that just happens, whether it's, personalities or whatever. So I don't have to put myself in that situation to have to work with them. But for me, it's about that. It's like I said, this is my livelihood. So it is, I still need to create some income and still building portfolio and still building businesses, and like that marketing strategist and coaching. That's a new business for me. I just started last year, because I figured same thing with all my business experience. It fit perfectly with what I'm doing. So that's a new venture for me, to venture off into actually coaching, helping people build their business versus just real estate. So that's just exciting stuff. I'm always wanted to do new things. Part of it too is I think, again, I got a little bored with the real estate club and real estate in general. Our median price home here in Hawaii is over 900,000 now.
Wow.
That's the median. It's just ridiculous. So that's why I do a lot of my investing on the mainland. I'm really big in Indiana right now.
Wow.
Napa. So
Very
I
cool.
think that must be why I do it. Yeah.
So for somebody yourself, you speak so so often. You're doing clubs, you do networking events, you speak on stages before this pandemic and whatnot. You speak to investors and partners. Have you always had a good skill set when it comes to speaking? And if not, what did you do to help with that?
Yeah, I would say not. I did not. And I'm talking about going way back, like high school age type thing. Like I was never the popular guy. I was never the leader. Wouldn't say I was necessarily just a follower. I didn't follow people blindly. I think that transition probably came from being in the military. As I got senior in rank, then I had to, then I had kids under me, so to speak. Like, when I say kids. So when I was 30, there were 18, 19-year-old kids joining the military that looked to me for leadership.
Mhm.
So I think I learned those leadership skills. I don't think I learned those leadership skills in the military for sure, 100%. And even some of the stuff I learned, it's just about learning the right verbiage. Like there's probably not too many words that have to do with real estate that I don't know what they mean or what they are.
Mhm.
So I think that when you learn the verbiage in the industry you're in, you just get more comfortable. I said a lot to my people that I'm working with, like we're doing phone calls and like, well, I don't know what to say. And, you kind of give them a script and they're like, well, I don't like scripts. I know nobody likes scripts, but trust me, your life is a script. It just is. Your business, like even for you, like you only get asked so many questions in real estate. Like I've probably had them all. In your job, I don't care if it's McDonald's. When you go to work, someone's going to ask you you have a script, say, would you like fries with that? There's scripts someone's going to ask you a question that you've already been asked 100 times. So you already have a standard answer. That's a script. And the same thing's going to happen in real estate and whatever industry you're in. Your job's the same way. When you go to work, whatever your job is, if you've been there 5 or 10 years, you've already been asked every question you're going to get asked. Once in a blue moon, you might get a wild card question, but based on your experience, you'll be able to just answer it. So I think that's the same thing where I'm at with real estate and business. When those questions come up, like I've been doing this since 1999, like I think I've answered all the questions. So I had business partners years ago, and one of them, my friend Laura, she would say the same thing. Like, how do you get on stage? Like I would do Q&As. We'd have an open forum, and I would just answer questions for 90 minutes. She's like, how do you do that? I was like, what do you mean? She's like, how do you just answer questions off the top of your head? I say, well, Laura, actually her profession, she's a speech therapist. So I said, well, let's put 50 speech therapists in a room and you on the stage. Would you be able to answer all their questions? And of course she's like, well, I don't know, probably. I was like, well, of course you would. That's what you do. Right. So she was a partner with me, but she didn't live the business like I did. She had a full-time job during the day. Whereas this is what I do. Like it's like any profession, when someone's asking you questions, you just kind of know the answer. And every once in a while, you might get one thrown out there that you don't know, but based on because of your experience, you're still able to answer it in an intelligent way. So that came with time. That training I went to Florida for was to learn to speak from the stage. It was Dave Van Hoos. Do you know those guys?
Yeah.
Speaking Empire.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's who I went to spend a day with.
And you didn't like it?
I like speaking from the stage, but I thought I wanted to sell from the stage, the 90 minutes buy my course type thing.
Yeah.
And by going there and learning what he called the science and how it works and raising your hand this way and speaking that way and standing on the stage when you're part of the stage, it was too salesy for me. And so I never did it. I never actually sold a product from the stage. I shouldn't say never. But like I've do a class and sell something.
Yeah.
But it was a 3-day class that included, upsells and stuff for other people, but I never did the 90-minute pitch. So buy my course, buy my class. I never did. But that's what I went there to learn. They did my whole presentation, everything. It's all done. I still have it today. They recorded it. He did it, recorded it so I could learn from it. And it was just,
didn't fit your style.
Yeah, it just wasn't genuine to me. And it wasn't. He said, no, he says, you'll get used to it. You'll learn how to do it. I said, but I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to learn how to do that. So
at least now you know.
Yeah, right. So think about that, Fong. How long would that have taken me to figure out, one, how to do it right? Like I'd have done it for a long time thinking I just sucked and I just wasn't doing it the right way because it wasn't comfortable to me. So this thing, like, and you've probably heard it before, if you're trying to sell something, you can't teach too much. And I wanted to teach too much. I was too giving of information. So by the time I was done, people thought they didn't need the information because I trained them.
Yeah.
Which couldn't be further from the truth, but that's what made me not be a good seller from the stage, which I'm okay with.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. Yeah.
No, you're a continual learner and you have your own coaches. What's the most important advice that one of your coaches have given you?
Probably the one that changed the course of my business was actually someone you know, Nito Cobain. Mm-hmm. He was speaking one day and he made a comment about getting rid of your irritants. Now he was talking about, did you hear his sidewalk story? They were trying to figure out how to get the students to stay on the sidewalk.
Yeah.
And they were like, we put a small fence. They stepped over. He's like, why don't we just put the sidewalk where they're walking? That's obviously where they want to walk. That was a story about getting rid of, and he said, let's get rid of the irritant. The irritant is they don't want to walk that way. They want to walk this way. So just fix it. Well, when he said that, this is going to sound bad. When he said get rid of irritants, the first thing I thought of was one of my business partners. So literally from that event, I came back here and told him we were done. Oh. So he could buy me out. I could buy him out. He could leave. I could, whatever we need, but we're done. Wow. And then I had two partners at the time. So there was three of us, and the entire business model of the three of us being business partners completely collapsed. They went back to their jobs. I took over the business. And so it's been mine ever since. And that was probably the biggest, like even as soon as you asked me, that's the thought I thought of, because it just changed my entire business model and the direction we were headed with two business partners back then to like, I took over, we had a brokerage firm. I was a broker, but I wasn't the broker of our firm. So I had to do that, take over my real estate business. I didn't keep the books. Like one of those guys did all the bookkeeping and all that stuff. So I had to learn all that, payroll, who we were working with. I didn't even know. Like that wasn't my job in the partnership. Right. So all that stuff I had to learn and take over. So that was probably the biggest thing. Advice is get rid of your irritants, whether they're yours or your clients or customers. There's no reason for there to be things that bother people, whether it's you or your clients in your business. Just fix them. Just get rid of them. And when I heard that, it was that's a sad moment when the first thing that pops into your mind is your business partner. You know what I'm saying? It's like, so I think it was a long time coming. So that little statement actually made me take action.
Wow, very, very powerful. Now, something a little bit different, and that would be if you had the opportunity to go up on stage and speak to the world. Everybody's listening at that one moment. What's that one message you want to spread to everybody?
Wow. I don't know if I'm that deep, Fong. I don't know if I can. What's the audience? I think it would depend on the audience, right? I mean, it probably depends on who I'm talking to and what we're talking about. So just in general, I mean, I don't know. I think I would focus on that. I'm big, as you probably know, on having coaches and people in my life that can help me. For a long time, I wasn't. I was the top of my food chain and I helped everyone else. And that was, and I think that's the military, but it was always tough for me to ask for help. Like I was the guy that did the helping, right? So, sorry, I lost my train of thought. Where I was going with that. but yeah, so having coaches and mentors has become a big thing for me in learning. So I would talk about that. The phrase about be dumb enough to do what I'm telling you to do. I think that's a huge phrase for people that are going through life and have coaches. Like if you're working with somebody and they're struggling because their parent or their friend or their family's in their ear, blah, 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 saying opposite of what you're saying, like that simple phrase, hey, just look, be dumb enough to do what I'm telling you to do because I've done it. It works. I get your parents love you and they're looking out for you. I get your brother, sister, friend, uncle, auntie, whatever's looking out for you, but they haven't done it. That's just a cold reality. It's not good, bad, or anything. It doesn't make them a bad person. Matter of fact, they're doing it because they love you and want to protect you. That doesn't make them a bad person, but they haven't walked in my shoes. They're not walking in your shoes. So probably that type of message. Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing for me is a lot of people stop and give up because of the other people chomping in their ear.
Yeah.
The people and it's the people they love the most too. That's what makes it so difficult.
Exactly.
So.
No, well said.
Yeah.
Now, before I let you go, I got 5 quick questions for you. Just tell me the first thing that comes to mind. These are just for fun. So,
okay.
First question is: I know you're a hockey fan. Yep. So, if you had an opportunity to string up your opening lineup all time, whether they're retired or still playing, who would be on your opening lineup?
Oh man, well, for a goalie, the guy that, and I don't even know if you're old enough to remember this guy, but the Bruins used to have this guy, Gilbert.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, aging myself there. But even, obviously you could pick the top 5 players and all that stuff, but the line that I'm enjoying the most right now is the Bruins #1 line.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's in there. I think, with again being a Boston's guy, Bobby Orr and Ray Bourque would have to be my defensemen without a doubt.
There you go.
We're going to need Terry O'Reilly for some protection. Cool. It's again dating myself, right? So Esposito for winger, right? So
you got all Bruins on your team.
Yeah, that's. There's obviously better players but for me, obviously, being a fan of the Bruins, I'm going to pick the Bruins.
Yeah.
Who wouldn't, back in the day, who wouldn't want Lemieux and Crosby and all these guys? And then, going back, Gordie Howe, even older, who wouldn't want these kind of guys on their team when you're in your prime? So there's just too many to pick from. But I would obviously lean towards picking, my Bruins for that line, regardless of they were the greatest or not.
Parts of it is the fan in you, right? So
yeah,
good choice. So you have this lineup in your kitchen right now, and they're hungry. What do you serve them? What's that specialty that you could actually prepare for food?
I'm not a cook, dude. I'm a restaurant guy. We're not big cooks in our house, so I'm a big steak eater. Some nice prime rib or ribeye steak or something like that. Mm-hmm. But it wouldn't be me. We'd bring a chef in. that would not be good.
It's like, what would you serve them and take credit for?
Yeah. But I think it would have to be, some kind of steak or something like that. I got a buddy, Tommy, that makes a good steak with some garlic butter sauce and stuff that he grills up. So it would be some kind of meat, I'm sure. I'm a steak guy, 100%.
Awesome. So, you're up on stage. One hidden talent that you're willing to perform that's not speaking.
Believe it or not, I can dance.
Awesome. I need to do that sometime then. Next time we meet up.
Well, I don't know if I can still dance the way I used to, but like when I was in high school and early 20s, going out to the clubs and stuff, so I would actually win dance contests and stuff like that.
If you were in the Olympics, which event would you like to win the gold medal in?
Hockey, of course.
And finally, the last question is: what is success like? Before you answer that, give me a number between 1 to 5.
4.
1, 2, 3, 4. So how is success like high heels?
How is success like high heels? If you're not careful, you're going to trip and stumble.
Very, very well said. So that is how success is like high heels. Don't trip and fall.
That's a good one, Fong. That was funny.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for your time, your stories, and your wisdom. I'm going to leave you with some last words if you have anything to share.
No, thanks for having me on. I appreciate that. This was kind of cool event to do with you. Maybe a long time coming too. Like you said, we met a while ago. So I'm happy that we stay in touch. Congratulations on your new family again, and all your success. And it's been cool watching you grow from the first time we met, you and Jessica hanging out. And yeah, looking forward to seeing you guys again at an event or something, hockey game, sometime soon, whenever we can get out and get back in the world and hang out some more.
Awesome. Thank you very much for that. Yeah, Hawaii is still on our list to visit, and unfortunately, this kind of put a stop to that thought right now. But eventually, we'll get there. So thank you very much again for your time, and again, all your stories and your advice. Until next time, today is the day to unlock your potential. We'll see you later.